Hello, and welcome to Mind My Brain, where we delve into the true stories, hardships, and successes of a unique mental health journey. My name is Eden, and I'm your host for this wild ride. I also create mental health content on YouTube under the name Eden V, and every now and then I might post on social media under the username Eden Waffles. Today's guest is my very good friend Frezzman. Hello, Frezzman.
Hello, party people. How are you today?
Frez Sorry. Frezzman is an accursed mask and host of Demasked on YouTube, where he
Mhm.
enjoys chatting to interesting people and playing video games. How are you feeling today, Frezzman?
I'm feeling very good today. How about yourself?
Excellent. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I am very excited to start working on this series. Obviously, you are my first guest on this totally new series, so I think there's going to be a few teething problems, but I think we'll be okay.
Well, I'm
Cool.
very honored to be the first.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Just before we begin, I'd like to remind our viewers that this is a space for us to speak freely about our mental health without judgment. And as such, there may be topics that could be viewed as disturbing or triggering. Please see my disclaimer for more information if you're interested. We always welcome comments on my channel, obviously. Always welcome comments, but please be polite, please be respectful. We're not here to judge anyone, we're here to listen. All right, well, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, first things first, we'll start with the easy questions. Could you tell us, Frezzman, a little bit about your diagnoses, like what the official name of your diagnoses is, and how long you've had it for?
Sure. I would say my most recent diagnosis would be OCD. In this last year is when I was diagnosed.
Mhm. Wow, cool. How did that make you feel, like when you were given the diagnosis?
Well, I had noticed a sort of behavioral shift in light of certain events that had taken place early 2020. Um, if I'm able to give details, I was separated from my partner of several years, and that sort of put me in a headspace to try to put everything in order, as it were. But
Mm.
so when I was told about it, I wasn't exactly surprised, but I'm glad that I finally sort of had a word for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's always tricky when you know that your behavior is not normal per se. Like you know that you're doing things that people, I suppose, normal people don't ordinarily do, and it's very hard to sort of, I guess, wrap your head around and understand why you're doing
Hmm.
it. So, on that note, could you give us a little bit more information? Like, tell us a story about how you came to be diagnosed. Like, what events took place in your life that made you decide you wanted to get your mental health checked?
So early, about I want to say January 2020. I had found out that my partner of some time was, unfaithful,
Mhm.
and I had since had moved out, and I had noticed that I had become very, um, what's the word? Well, with a good the sort of stereotype for OCD is, everything has to be straight and level and everything in its place, and I
Mhm.
started to do that, but more, I've put it here, it should stay there, that sort of deal. And that began to worry me because everybody, organizes in some way, but I would itch. Like I would physically be itchy if
Mhm.
something had been moved without me knowing it had been moved.
Mhm.
And that's when I kind of decided to look into going to my doctor and talking about it,
Mhm.
because I had noticed that shift because I would go over to other people's houses, friends, family members, and I would just be itching the entire time, top to bottom, and just like, all right, their kitchen's not you know, clean, the dishes aren't put away, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it, but I think, which a lot of people that I've talked to have kind of come to the same conclusion, that the the fact that I no longer had sort of control over that aspect of my life, with my relationship with my partner, that it might be trying to reestablish control or trying to fix things everywhere else. That sort
Mm.
of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. The itching is really interesting. Um, like I think when it comes to discomfort and when it comes to anxiety, especially like things being out of your control or like kitchens being dirty, for for example,
Mm.
I think it's really interesting that it comes through as itching. Like, could you tell us a little bit more about like the itching? Like, would it be just be if things were moved, or things were just like in a position where they were out of your control, or would it like come about in other ways too?
Well, it's thankfully hasn't personified itself as panic attacks or anything like that. It's not like
Mm,
I'm becoming angry. It's just like, my arm kind of itches, kind of
mm,
just and
mm,
and it's it's worse, I think, more so in other people's houses, because I can't, like, through manners and social contact, I can't exactly go and just up and clean their house for them.
mm.
So I have to
That'd be
kind
a
of
bit
just sit
weird.
there, just like,
Oh, yeah. Like, does it is like to scratch? Like, does it feel? Does it like make you feel better to scratch? Like, if that makes sense.
um. So I don't, I can't scratch per se. I don't really have much in the way of nails, but it's not like
Mm,
I'm tearing at my skin,
yeah.
or anything like that. But it's
Yeah.
more so like, how do I word it? It's like, what's the term? It's not like a bug bite. It's more so
Mm,
like I just have to kind of itch the
yeah.
spot by like rubbing it, sort of thing.
Mm, yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it sounds stranger saying it out loud.
No, no, not at all, not at all. Like I said before, like anxiety, or like so with OCD, it's an anxiety and a compulsion is performed to keep the anxiety under control, if that makes sense. So
Mm,
it's just interesting because like I guess because like itching is such a unique, I think, anxiety. Does that make sense? Like it's a unique way for it to come through,
yeah,
so that's why I'm just like, let's talk about this a little bit more. you know
of
like
course.
I have I with OCD, there's lots of different types of OCD, and because of that, you do have like a very broad spectrum of all kinds of behaviors and all kinds of compulsions that come through. So I think it's useful to kind of like discuss them a little bit more, because there could be somebody out there who's, experiencing this in some way, shape, or form, and's not really understanding what what it is or what it's a component of, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing about it. I know it feels a little bit weird to sort of talk about like, oh, these are the things that that make me feel a bit kind of thing. So I do
Mm.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh,
um
it's all good.
when you were like just in like, excuse me, like, did you ever like experience um any of your symptoms like in your younger years, like after you got the diagnosis, for example? Did you sort of make connections like, oh yeah, actually that does make sense, like when I was a child I used to do this, you know?
I had actually noticed that it, not so much the itching part of the keeping track of everything, but
Mm,
the the component of everything has its place. Everything
Mm,
like there's the joke of like the kid's dirty room. Like there's toys strewn about everywhere.
mm,
Well, sure, my room's a mess, but I know where everything is.
mm,
That sort of deal.
yeah.
And that it used to sort of bother me having to clean my room as a kid because it's like now I can't find anything.
Mm,
And I that sort of also carried on into adulthood because
mm,
when I was married, my partner would sort of rearrange the room or put stuff away that I needed when I got home, but I can't find it now because it's not where I left it.
mm,
That sort of thing. And I never got angry about it, but I was just like, okay, gotta locate it now. I gotta find it.
mm.
But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. That would be really difficult having your things touched without consent. Like
Hmm.
I can definitely get on board with that. I hate my things being touched and moved without without my consent prior. So
Mm.
yeah. I wanted to ask, do you find that your OCD can interfere when you're out and about in the world, like say performing like performance at work, for example? Like, do you find it interferes a little bit or anything like that, like while you're at work or while you're just out and about in the real world? The real world.
Well, thankfully, I mean, I say thankfully very lightly.
Mm,
My job, I work part time, but
mm,
thankfully, my job allows me to feed my OCD
mm.
because I do cleaning
Yeah.
for work, and so
Mm,
making sure everything's nice and wiped down. It's all very pleasing to me.
mm,
Everything is finally in its place, that sort of thing.
mm. Yeah.
But when I'm out and about, I don't think about it as much because
Mm.
I'm I'm more worried about looking weird in public. Like it,
Yeah.
and that's been a thing for forever because it's I think it's more the OCD slowly turns back on me when I'm in public.
Mm.
It's like, am I walking right? Do I look presentable? Am I
Yeah.
okay? And like, I'll even like readjust my shirt, kind of
Mm.
check my pockets, make sure everything's with me, that sort of thing.
Yeah. 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 Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like that, just like that worry, that constant worry that like people are looking at you and judging you, sort of thing, while you're out getting groceries.
Well, it's not even the worry that
Mm.
I'm being judged. Like, I'm not expecting somebody to be like, "You look weird today," you know. But
Hey,
but
you.
what's wrong with you? No, it's more so just like, do I think I look okay?
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah.
and thankfully with the last um year or so of being able to talk to people in similar marital situations, that sort of thing,
Mm.
I've been able to process and actually be able to not worry as much going outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, so you found that talking to people that have been in a similar situation was quite helpful.
Hmm.
Where did you find those people, like support groups or?
No, actually, I think I might have went not the. I won't say there's a wrong way to
Mm,
process. I mean, if you start, taking substances and whatnot, that's
mm,
moral gray area. But,
mm.
um,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but for me, it was that all had happened, and usually I try to not push it down and not deal with it, but more so just try to deal with it myself.
Mm,
And with having my partner be unfaithful, which is a new scenario to me. Thankfully, I had the thought of like, I can't hold it in. I'm gonna explode if I hold it in.
Yeah.
And so, in in hindsight, thankfully I've gotten some very good friends out of it. Mutual friend of ours, Lady Spukaria.
Mhm.
Um, I met her almost right after that had occurred,
Mhm.
and started talking to her and a couple other narrators through a collaboration that I had joined, because I'm like, I gotta, keep myself busy. But then I
Mhm.
started sort of talking to people about, hey, all this had happened, and I don't know what to do. And
Mhm.
thankfully, with Lady and then meeting you later down the road has helped me immensely, because I've been able
Mhm.
to, even talking about it has lifted a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I'm to a point now where I can feel okay in that I did nothing wrong.
Mhm.
I'm not the one who screwed up, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not blaming
Yeah.
myself, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's really good to hear. Like, the fact that this happened, that you had a partner that was unfaithful, is just like that's a very traumatic thing to go through, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to pry too much into your old relationship, but I can make the assumption that you were together for a while. Yeah.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, that's, excuse me, that's that's a really long time to be together. That is and I'm in a long-term relationship myself, so the concept of trying to wrap, like, I'm trying to wrap my head around the concept of like the idea if my partner was unfaithful for me, and I feel confused, I think is like I feel confused because I just
Mm,
don't know how I would react to such a situation. So I am like truly happy to hear that I could help in some way, shape, or form, and that
yeah.
also happy to hear that you have like a really strong friendship group that you can rely on and talk to. And yeah,
Mm,
so is that that's like through obviously Lady Spookaria? So I'm assuming you mean like the YouTube community.
yeah. And also, people offline I've been able to go hang out with and talk to. And I thought, I figured I would tell as many, not as many people as I could,
Mm-hmm.
but just, a good handful of people, and then just talk it through,
Mm-hmm.
which I normally don't or didn't do. But now that I've done that, I would rather do that instead of trying to contain it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's not good to just kind of like, bring it all in and think, yep, I can do this myself. I don't need help, because sometimes that's just not possible. Like, we're all
Mm,
human. We all need some kind of help every now and then.
mm.
So, like, if I may ask, um, what made you feel back before you changed your mind and started reaching out and connecting to people? Why did you like feel like you had to sort of keep it all within yourself?
Well, it was sort of how I always dealt with things that bothered me.
Mm,
And the problem with that, I had mentioned earlier that, I had to tell somebody or otherwise I'd explode.
mhm.
And it's not so much like an explosion of like anger or, outbursts or something like that. It's
Yeah.
more so that it the the thought, the upsetting thought, sort of keeps reticking. You know, keeps like a towel that won't dry in the laundry, just kind of tumbles in the dryer for hours on end, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And but thankfully, I'm very open to crying,
Mm. That's a good thing.
as you
Yes.
can tell. But
No, that's a very good thing. Yep. Sorry, keep going.
on that's so good. But it was just, that became unhealthy because I would have the feeling to cry
Mm,
at what I would consider inappropriate times, where I could
mm,
be at work and then I'd just start kind of sobbing.
mm, mm.
and
Yeah. Would that be? Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
oh, what's up?
Oh, sorry, keep going.
Oh no, but I was at the time I hadn't realized that that's not terribly healthy to sort of kind of put it into a ball and then just try to
Mhm.
hold on to it.
Yeah. 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 It's difficult because like when we do that we do how can I put this? When we keep it all in, there's like that explosion as you were talking about. Like, it
Mm,
doesn't necessarily have to be rage because I think it's just you kind of experience all your emotions at once,
mhm,
kind of thing. And I feel like it sort of gets to a point where it's just so overwhelming that all you can do is cry. Um, but on top of that as well, um, when you're experiencing that or you're trying to push and like really push those emotions back down, they come
mm,
out in different ways. Like they come out in ways where we will have, I suppose you could say, maladaptive coping mechanisms. So we will do things that probably aren't the healthiest as a way of coping with this weight that's within ourselves. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
thankfully I've gotten a lot better about telling people how I feel, and well, because what on a person to person basis, what I used to do was, hey, how are you doing today? And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm fine," but
Mm,
internally I'm like, you know, tell them, man, something's bothering you. Come on.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
But thankfully, like I've said before, with time to process, I've been able to be. It's how do I word it? I've been more proud of the person I see in the mirror. That sort of thing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. What what's it like, I suppose, nowadays, now that you've kind of come through this journey and now that you're sort of where you're at right now, like how do you feel about, like, let's just say your day-to-day life, like, um how are you feeling now about like talking to other people, making new relationships, new friendships, and not like, do you feel like you can trust other people and have solid connections now, like despite the trauma that's happened in your past?
Absolutely.
Mm,
I feel like I can just like I've mentioned before. Um one of the both with you and Lady,
mm,
you two and a very select handful of people just on the YouTube spectrum alone
mm,
are very near and dear to me.
mm.
Um, and I trust you, and
Thank
I
you.
I hope I hope I'm able to do that.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
but it's how do I word it? I've been very good about not projecting that feeling of betrayal and pain onto other people,
Hmm.
because you know you didn't mess up and Lady didn't mess up. Nobody else I know has messed up in that way that my
Mm,
partner at the time did.
yeah.
And so I'm able to sort of a church and state separation.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, have you done like a little bit of research into obsessive compulsive disorder? Like, have you joined any support groups or like sought out like professional help, like counseling, for instance, or anything like that, just to kind of help you get to know, I suppose, the condition a little more?
No.
No,
Not in the
that's fair
slightest.
enough. Yeah, fair
Well,
enough. That's fair enough.
it's partially due to I didn't know there were groups for OCD until just now. Um,
That's fair enough.
but that and it's also a bit of an accessibility issue with me.
Hmm.
But I've I've considered just for me, just even the act of talking about it
Hmm.
is therapy to me.
Yeah.
Sort of letting air out of the balloon, sort of thing.
Hmm. Oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely. There are always support groups over social media, like Reddit, for instance, where you
Mm,
can join as a completely anonymous person and chat with people that do have OCD that and learn a little bit more about, I suppose, the tics of OCD. So I know a few people. I know a few people with it as well. It's probably why I know a little bit about the disorder. So
mm,
it's really interesting hearing about um like your side of how you experienced it, like it's that whole thing of the whole just right, where it's like things just kind of have
mm,
to be just right, and if they're not, it brings that discomfort. So like, yeah,
mm.
if you are interested, obviously I wholeheartedly recommend like checking out just some of the random groups online on the internet, like the OCD support groups, because yeah, they are just a plethora of information, and sometimes they're really helpful to like.
4chan, got it. No,
Yes, 4chan, absolutely.
the
How
most
did you know?
accepting place on the internet. Yep.
Yes, it's just like one big rainbow where everyone holds hands at 4chan, right? Yeah. But no, they are really handy. Like when I was first diagnosed with OCPD, which is like the sister of OCD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, I didn't really know a lot about the disorder aside from what I googled, and Google can sometimes lead you down these really weird rabbit holes that have nothing to do
Mm,
with what you were actually looking for. So I found that connecting with a support group was really great in learning a lot more about the disorder from other people's perspectives. So
mm.
hence why I asked. Yeah. Oh, that's
So what you're
awesome.
saying
Mhm.
is only do research on like WebMD.
Yeah, just use WebMD. That's just mwah. That's everything you need is there, because it'll probably tell you have cancer. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Why am I
Just
itchy?
move on
It's
from.
probably syphilis. Oh.
It's probably. Oh, that's awesome. So, if I may ask, if
Yeah.
you had the opportunity, what would you tell your past undiagnosed self?
Hmm. You know, it's funny you asked that, and even reading the questions earlier, um,
Mm,
it that's actually something I've thought about. Is like,
mhm,
what if I could just go back in time and sort of run into myself 10 years ago,
mm.
and I think I would give him a strict warning about a certain person, but
Fair enough. Yep.
but uh, th- how do I word it? I don't think I'd tell him to avoid that person. I think I would tell him to look more carefully at the signs that it might be over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I didn't see it coming. Honestly,
Mm.
I only found out when I was told.
Yeah.
um, but in terms of diagnoses, I would I wouldn't shame him for what would come to pass. The everything in its place, that sort of gig.
Mm.
But I think what I would do would be to tell him how we deal with it nowadays, and then try to apply that earlier on, so we have a better sort of foothold for the future.
Yeah.
And And for the love of God, past Frezzman, if through some paradox you're seeing this, fucking talk about it with somebody, man. It was sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
It's okay. Sorry about it.
But just, don't be afraid to bring it up to your friends. And there are people who are going to listen to you. And that's, um, sorry, I'm getting a little misty eyed.
It's okay.
But that might be the biggest thing, is that somebody's gonna listen to you. Somebody out there, you just gotta talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That got me right. That got me right here, dude. Yeah. I I really appreciate that you're being so honest with me.
Of course.
Because you could have just been like, I wouldn't have anything to say. So, like, I really appreciate that honesty. That's awesome.
I subsist entirely off of black coffee and cigarettes. No.
I used to smoke, not anymore. No. Uh, um. So I think I think we can like wind down from there. Like I think that was a really good productive chat about um your story, how you came to be diagnosed, and what's it like to kind of experience the day-to-day life, and moving through obviously the past trauma of losing a spouse that you'd had for so long due to infidelity, which is just awful. That's absolutely awful. So just one final question.
Sure.
If you ran into someone and they shared with you that they might feel like they might have OCD too, but they're not really sure if they should get help because they're worried about what might happen, what
Hmm.
would you tell them?
I so how do I word it? It's something that took me a while to accept, because I can be stubborn, um, certainly when it comes to my health and whatnot. But I would say to anybody out there who's dealing with similar situations or has noticed that sort of change in behavior, there is absolutely no shame in bringing it up to a doctor. Like, and it doesn't even have to be the main focus of your visit. Like, that's what I did. I went to the doctor for a checkup, and then at the end I'm like, hey, I've noticed a change. And with how do I, a lot of people don't realize that your doctor's there to help you, not just try to fix you. They're there for you. They're trying to help you work through some stuff. And so, definitely bring it up to your doctor, or even just discuss it with a friend. Don't have your friend diagnose you.
The
but
armchair diagnosis, yes.
yeah, but definitely, if certain changes that you've noticed are bothering you, or you're worried, like, there's absolutely no shame in asking questions. Even if somebody doesn't know, just even voicing it out there is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. I Yeah, I really like that. Like I wanted to be like, oh, okay, I got some stories to tell you, but I'm like, this isn't about me. This is about you.
Just in
But
the
yeah,
background, like, yes.
yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. But yeah, I completely agree. Like I think that there's a huge stigma that surrounds going to see a doctor and taking those first steps into
Mm,
like getting your mental health checked, you know.
mm.
And look, not all doctors are going to be helpful. You know,
Yeah.
you were like, it was awesome that you had such a good doctor and that he was able to, you know, pick this up just through conversation. Like that's very cluey of him. Well done, sir,
Mm,
kind of thing.
mm,
um but sometimes like not everybody has, I don't want to say that luxury, but that luck, I suppose, to be able to find a doctor who's willing to help them. And
mm,
when that happens, I feel like the best course of action is to find another doctor who will listen. You know, because there's
mm.
plenty of them out there. You know, and
Yeah.
you would be able to definitely land on the right doctor who'd be able to help you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Mm.
think a lot of, well, at least, people around my age, the consistent fear that I've heard is that, if I voice my concerns, they're gonna just recommend that I go to a psych ward,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. Like that's from a lot of my friends, even offline. That's just, it's a very odd concern to me, but I can very much understand it. But
Yeah.
there's there's nothing wrong with just, you know, hey hey doc, there's something wrong,
Mm.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
The the
Yeah.
the only way your doctor can help you solve a problem is if they know that there's a problem in the first place.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think having that courage to be able to speak up as well about how you're feeling, like that's a huge thing. Like that's something that's like, to me, I consider it quite a big deal. Like like throughout your story, and you're telling me like how it was very normal for you to feel like you would have to sort of compartmentalize everything that you were feeling and really
Hmm.
keep it close to you, you know. And it was always a concern that you were going to explode at some point, you know. And then moving past that and being able to connect with other people and tell them not just how you're feeling but why you're feeling that way, like that's huge, you know. That is really huge. So well
Hmm.
done. Like that's, yeah, amazing. That is so great. I'm really happy to hear that this has been like, um it was a negative experience. I know it was a traumatic experience, but it's great to hear that something positive has come out of that, you know.
Well, so the this past year alone has, I have a bit of an odd way of putting it, and it might be one of the worst things that has happened to me,
Mm,
but I wouldn't change a thing because I'm happy with the person I am now.
yeah.
Like uh, being post, working through all of this, being able to talk to, you and really anybody within arm's reach.
Mhm,
Like I wouldn't change it for the world
mm,
because I think I've become a stronger person because of it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. Like, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. Like, I really do appreciate it. I know I've probably said that like 5 times already, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.
I think we can wrap it up there. Is there anything you'd like to add before we like finish off with today's video?
Um. Uh. Well. Real quick, I'd like to clarify my statement from earlier.
Mm,
It For anybody listening at home, it doesn't have to be just OCD, but if if you were like me and you're like you feel sad for no reason and you're not sure why, talk to somebody, man. Like that's it's it'll do wonders, even just bringing it up to a friend, you know. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. thank you so much for coming on today, like, and being my guinea pig for this
Of
impulsive
course.
idea that I had. So thank you so much. To our viewers, if you haven't yet, please consider checking out and subscribing to Frezzman's YouTube channel. He uploads some amazing interviews with people with his show Demasked. He's starting season 2, so if you ask him
Yeah.
really nicely, he might interview you. And he also uploads some great gameplay videos as well. They're really great to check out. So yeah, absolutely check out his stuff. All links will be in the description.
Thank you.
If you liked my video, please consider also subscribing to my channel, because that lets me know that I'm doing a good job and that you're enjoying my content too. And of course, if you're interested in coming on to this new show that I have created as a guest to talk about your mental health journey, feel free to DM me on Twitter at Eden Waffles or email me hi@edenv.com. So I want to say thank you again to Frezzman for coming on my show today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been awesome. Like, it's been a very good experience. This is very good having that all of your story shared with me today.
Mm.
That was just fantastic. Thank you. So,
And it's been an honor and a pleasure being on. Thank you very much for having me.
you're more than welcome. So, all right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. So, my name is Eden. I have lots of time to listen. I'll see you guys again to hear your side of the story. Ta ta.